Oh, hello. Didn't see you there. That was lame. Welcome back. Today we're reacting to another Kurzgesagt video, Why Meat is the Best Worst Thing in the World. As a vegetarian myself, I've been for a little over 2 years, this topic is one that's close at home for me, so I can't wait to see what they have to say about it. I may have seen this video before. There's a possibility, but I'm not sure. Anyway, let's dive right in. Be sure to support the original creator.
Humans love meat. Steak, fried chicken, bacon, pork belly and sausages
We do love
are
meat.
just the best things. Eating meat has become so trivial that many people
Luis!
consider something a proper meal if there's no animal involved.
From Bob's Burger.
Which is pretty amazing, since only a few decades ago, meat was a luxury product.
I have to say about that, it's actually very true, because everywhere that you go, if you're buying a pre-made meal, unless it's something specifically with vegetarians in mind, it has meat or some sort of meat product in it. It is so hard to go to a restaurant and find something that's vegetarian that's not just a salad. I mean, it's ridiculous. And there's a lot of things that have meat products in them, or maybe animal products more specifically, that you wouldn't necessarily think. For instance, marshmallows, Worcestershire sauce. It's so hard.
Today, you can get a cheeseburger for $1. Paradoxically, meat is pretty much the most inefficient way of feeding humans. If we look at it on a global scale, our meaty diet is literally eating up the planet. Why is that, and what can we do about it?
It takes more calories to get the same amount of calories back out of the food, out of the meat, right? So you're burning all these calories of plants to feed the animals.
Humans keep a lot of animals for food. Currently, about 23 billion chickens, 1.5 billion cattle, and roughly 1 billion pigs and sheep.
With a B.
That's a lot of mouths to feed, so we've transformed Earth into a giant feeding ground. 83% of its farmland is used for livestock, for example,
That's
as
insane.
pasture, and to farm fodder crops like corn and soy. That's 26% of Earth's total land area.
We're burning up our surface area.
These plants, meat and dairy production accounts for 27% of global fresh water consumption.
People don't want to admit that it's a problem, though, because they like meat.
A black hole for resources.
And it's easier to just enjoy the meat and not think about it, since most of us don't see the problem. Most of us don't see the problem every day. Chances are that you're not working at one of these industrialized farm slaughterhouses. Chances are that you're not exposed to that type of thing every day. You don't see the problem. You go to the supermarket and you see a neatly little packaged block of meat. You go to the fast food restaurant and you see your $1 cheeseburger or whatnot. You don't see a lot of what the problem is in the background.
Their tasty parts. Only a fraction of the nutrients from fodder crops end up in the meat we buy in the end. Cows, for example, convert only about 4% of the proteins and 3% of the calories of the plants we feed to them into beef. More than 97% of the calories are lost to us. To create 1 kilogram of steak, a cow needs to eat up to 25 kilos of grain and uses up to 15,000 liters of water. Animal products are guzzling up tons of food, but they only make up 18% of the calories humans eat.
And that's another thing that's ridiculously crazy about this. We're pumping all of these resources into growing and maturing the livestock. So it's super inefficient. The other thing that is not being considered yet, these are living beings that we're talking about. So it's not just some resource. Granted, yeah, they're not humans, but they feel pain. The living conditions that we make them go through in order to be more efficient with our space and to turn meat into a business, it's ridiculous, and no living thing should have to live that way.
According to projections, we could nourish an additional 3.5 billion people if we just ate the stuff we feed to animals. To make our favorite food group even more unsustainable, about 15% of all greenhouse gas emissions caused by humans are created by the meat industry. As much as by all ships, planes, trucks and cars combined. And there's another aspect.
Is that true? Gotta be true, right?
It comes from actual living beings.
Yeah, see, that's what I said.
Not the ones writing the history books, but if they were, humans would appear as rampant genocidal maniacs that thrive on suffering. Globally, we kill about 200 million animals every day, about 74 billion a year.
Damn.
This means that every 1.5 years, we kill more animals than people have lived in the entire 200,000-year history of humanity.
That's crazy. I mean, that's insane. A lot of those animals that die, they aren't eaten. For instance, roosters. They're not good for eating. They can't lay eggs. They're only needed for breeding. You don't need that many of them. When the chicklets are sorted at birth, the roosters are literally divided, most of them, and just fed through a grinder. And it's a total waste. Just throw the lives away. I mean, at least they're not suffering. It's arguably a better fate than what awaits the ones that they keep alive. It's ridiculous. It shouldn't be that way. Now, as a vegetarian myself, I'm a weird one, because I started the vegetarian thing because I was having issues eating meats. It would make my stomach super upset. I couldn't figure out why my stomach was always upset, so I started experimenting around with things, and that was what did it for me. When I stopped eating meats, I felt a lot better. I think it was probably just the red meats that did it. It probably wasn't the chicken or the pork, but I didn't like chicken. I didn't eat pork much. So I made the conscious decision to just cut out all meat. And then I took that further and started to cut out animal products. So I'm not a vegan. I'll still have like honey and milk. I'll have eggs in a limited fashion, but I won't eat like gelatin and stuff that's made from the bones, boiling bones and stuff. My own personal opinion. I'm okay with eating animals. It's not that I'm against eating all animals. I am still an avid hunter. I go out every year whitetail deer hunting. I can't eat it, but I make sure if I get something, it is getting eaten. My family will eat it. My kids still eat meat all the time. I don't try to force that down on them. My wife still eats meat all the time. You know, I don't try to project what I feel and how I feel about it onto other people. But what I am against is killing things for no reason. And I'm also against the living conditions of how the animals are raised in these giant industrialized farm slaughterhouses. It's not okay. That's what I'm against. If you want to raise an animal or go hunting for wild animals and kill them and eat them, I think that's okay, as long as you're not wasting it. If it's to feed yourself, feed your family, that's okay in my mind. Now, personally, I have to keep all the meat out because my body's so used to it now that the one time I did cheat and I tried to have some meat, I tried to have some Wagyu steak. I got so sick from that. Probably a compound of the fact that I started this vegetarian journey with the primary focus of red meat upset my stomach, but then compound that with I had been not eating meat for so long and my body wasn't used to breaking it down and processing it anymore. It was miserable, and I barely had any. I had like 6 little, probably even less than that, little tiny squares of the steak. It was really rough.
One could argue that we're doing them a favor. After all, they wouldn't exist without us. We might eat them in the end, but we also provide food and shelter and the gift of existence to them.
Well, a pitiful existence really isn't an existence.
Nice gods. A lot of our meat comes from factory farms, huge industrial systems that house thousands of animals.
I don't know how this is legal, honestly.
They have little regard for things like quality of life. Most pigs are raised in gigantic windowless sheds and never get to see the sun.
And these living conditions that are in these giant industrial complexes, there's a difference between killing something to eat it and just being cruel, especially with some of the videos that we've seen leaked from these areas where they're just getting enjoyment out of causing these things pain. I know that that's not a reflection of everyone. People need jobs, they need to provide for themselves, for their family. I get it. These leaked videos, they don't reflect everyone that works there. But there has been these leaked videos of people just torturing these animals and getting enjoyment out of it. How can you possibly be okay with that? How could you participate? What kind of sick, twisted person do you have to be to intentionally cause another living thing harm for no gain to yourself at all and think that's funny? I know that they're animals, and I know they're not people, and I know that they are not sentient or self-aware, but you know, they still feel. They should at least be able to live at some level of comfort, not constant discomfort and neglect. That's my 2 cents anyway.
Sows are kept in pens too small to turn around, where they give birth to one litter of piglets after another until it's their turn to be turned into bacon. Dairy cows are forced to breed continually to ensure their milk supply, but are separated from their calves hours after birth. To fatten up beef cattle for slaughter, they're put in feedlots, confined pens where they can't roam, and put on weight more quickly. To make it possible to keep them so tightly together without dying of diseases, the majority of antibiotics we use are for livestock, up to 80% in the US.
That's insane. 80% antibiotics. And then we wonder why all these diseases come from the animals. We're basically breeding super viruses here. The amount of cows and other animals that are living and dying each day, and the acceleration of evolution. When you multiply, it's not a perfect copy. Perfect copy is a clone. That's not what happens when you have babies. There's changes, there's mutations in your genes. So we're doing an accelerated evolution experiment here is basically what's happening with all these animals. But then also, we're breeding superviruses because we're giving them so much antibiotics. And then we wonder why our antibiotics aren't as effective as they used to be. Well, the viruses change and adapt too. They evolve too.
Which helps in the short term, but also fuels antibiotic resistances.
But
the ones that may have got the worst deal are chickens. In factory farms, they're kept in such vast numbers and so close to each other that they can't form the social structures they have in nature, so they start attacking each other. To stop that, we cut their beaks and claws. Male chickens are deemed worthless since they can't lay eggs and are not suitable for meat production. So within minutes after birth, they're usually gassed and shredded in grinders.
Oh, they're gassed at least?
1 million baby chickens are killed this way each year. Even if you had a personal score to settle with chickens, how we treat them is beyond broken.
Yeah,
so
100%.
Buy organic meat, where animals are treated nicely, right?
I gotta weigh in on this before they talk. Organic is a non-regulated term as far as I'm aware, which means that you can slap an organic label on pretty much anything, and as long as you have a justification for why you're calling it organic, that's okay. There's no standardized definition as far as regulation is concerned, at least here in the United States where I live. There's no standardized regulation that says this is the criteria that you need to meet in order to be organic.
Organic farming regulations are designed to grant animals a minimum of comfort. The problem is that organic is an elastic term. According to EU regulations, an organic hen still might share 1 square metre of space with 5 others. That's a long way off from happy farmyard chickens. Farms that sincerely do their best do exist, of course, but meat is still a business. An organic label is a way to charge more money, and countless scandals have revealed producers looking for ways to cheat the system. And while organic meat might be less cruel, it needs even more resources than conventional meat production.
So we get back to that whole inefficiency thing.
Preferable, but does not grant you moral absolution. The truth is, if suffering were a resource, we would create billions of tons of it per year. The way we treat animals will probably be one of the things future generations will look down on in disgust. While all these things are true, something
the
else
apocalypse
is true
now.
is
Poultrygeist? Wait a minute. We gotta see that. Poultrygeist apocalypse now. Nice touch on the posters,
Something
guys.
else is true too. Steak is amazing. Burgers are the best food. Chicken wings taste great. Meat satisfies something buried deep in our lizard brain. We hardly ever see how our meat is made.
Yeah.
We just eat it and love it.
I feel if people had to go out and kill the animals themselves, a lot of people probably in today's day and age would probably become vegetarians very quickly. I don't think a lot of people have the stomach for that. And because that's all out of sight, out of mind, you don't see that. All you see is the finished product and you get to taste the delicious taste. You don't see the process of getting that burger, of getting those chicken wings.
It creates joy. It brings us together for family meals and barbecue parties. Eating meat doesn't make you a bad person. Not eating meat doesn't make you a good one. Life is complicated, and so is the world we've created.
That's a really good way to put it.
So, how should we deal with the fact that meat is extremely unsustainable and a sort of horrible torture? For now, the easiest option is opting out more often. Taking a meat-free day per week already makes a difference. If you want to eat meat produced with less suffering, try to buy from trusted producers with a good track record, even if it costs more. To make an impact on the
You gotta be able to put your money where your mouth is if you actually care about it.
as they convert their feed more efficiently into meat. And if you're going to have your steak, you should eat it too. An average American throws out nearly a pound of food per day, a lot of which is meat. In the future,
That's
could get
a
us clean
huge
meat.
pet peeve of mine, is the wasting. I have two toddlers. I'm okay if they don't finish, like their vegetables or something, if they're full. The part that does bug me is when they don't finish like a cheeseburger or something like that. And I try to explain to them, meat is from animals and something died to give you that. And the least you could do is at least finish it and not waste it. My voice is cracky and I'm just getting over a cold.
Various starch is meat. In the future, science could get us clean meat. Various startups have successfully grown meat in labs and are working on doing so.
I've tried
on a
the
commercial
impossible
scale.
meat and it's
Solutions
actually
like
pretty
this are
good.
still a few years away. For now, enjoy your steak, but also respect it. And if you can, make it something special again.
Yeah, that was a great video. I really enjoyed it. I think I may have seen it before, but to be honest, I can't quite remember it perfectly. So I really did enjoy it. It brought a lot of good points. I personally don't try to push my beliefs on other people, but I do believe that the way that we treat the animals that we eat is not okay in a general sense. I believe that industrialized meat farming is extremely cruel, inefficient, and should probably be regulated a little bit more than it is. I don't necessarily think that meat should go away. I think people should have the freedom to eat the meat. I think people should have freedom to eat what they want. I also think that we need more regulation to reduce the cruelty and the waste and improve the efficiency. Anyway, thanks for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I hope that you have such a wonderful day.